People move to Newport News from all over the world. Whether you're military, PCSing to Fort Eustis or Langley Air Force Base, coming to start a new job at the Shipyard, or teach at Christopher Newport University, you're probably in the midst of researching Newport News. And you could be seeing things on certain blogs or hearing things from friends who have lived here that are forming your impression of Newport News. Well, I found that a lot of what's out there is from people who have either never lived in Newport News or haven't been here in many years. And they're giving people the wrong impression of what it's really like to live here in Newport News. My name is David Tortolini, and I've been living in and selling real estate in Newport News and the surrounding area since 2010. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing 7 misconceptions about living in Newport News, Virginia. Welcome back to Moving to Hampton Roads. Let's get to it. If you're moving to Newport News in the near future, I think it's important that you have a real understanding of what this city is actually like. I hope I've done a good job of showing some of that in my other videos on this channel, and in this video, I hope to continue providing information from my point of view that can help you with your move. Newport News is a mid-sized city of about 185,000 people, mostly known for its military and industrial population. It's not a travel destination like Virginia Beach or Williamsburg. This often gives people the wrong impression of the city because they're making their judgments on ratings websites and blogs and news articles, which, unfortunately for Newport News, tend to only be written when something kind of bad happens here. These media tend to only highlight the negative aspects of the city, which makes it seem like the whole city is one particular way. And if you've never been here, particularly for an extended period of time, it can be hard to know what Newport News is really like. So let's talk about some things you may have heard and some of the impressions you may have that might be a little out of line with the actual truth about Newport News. Misconception number 1 is that crime is everywhere. You'll hear this a whole lot. People say Newport News is filled with gangs and violence, and if you live here, you're going to get shot or robbed. I swear, the way some people talk about it, they act like every day is the purge. Now, listen, I'm not going to stand here and say that Newport News doesn't have a crime problem. There are definitely some rough parts of town, and really any crime is too much crime. And overall, crime rates here are too high. But to give people the impression that there aren't fantastic, safe places to live in Newport News, or that people feel unsafe when they go out, is just utterly ridiculous. There are many parts of Newport News where I would personally, as a citizen, homeowner, father and husband, be very happy and feel that my family and home are perfectly safe. But people who aren't from Newport News don't talk about those areas. They've never been to them. They look at downtown Newport News, also referred to as the East End or even the numbered streets, and the high crime rate in that area, and make the assumption that the entire city is like that, without ever having been to other parts of town. And there are certainly some other not so great parts of the city, but Newport News is 120 square miles, and I promise there are some fantastic areas like Hilton Village, Riverside, Highlandwood, Kiln Creek, Menchville. These are all places where I would personally live. I've had an office in City Center since I started in real estate. I've never felt unsafe a single day there. We go out to dinner, go to the movies, out on hiking trails, all over town, and it has been an extremely rare occasion where I've felt even remotely unsafe in this city. Now, certainly some of this is subjective, and I'm not exactly spending my time in the rougher areas or anywhere where crimes do happen more often, like a 7-Eleven at 2 a.m. on a Saturday. But the next time someone says don't live in Newport News because of the crime, I suggest spending some time here and determine that for yourself. Number 2, that kids can't succeed in the Newport News public schools. The Newport News school system isn't exactly considered to be the best in the area. Niche.com gives it an overall grade of a B-, with most of the individual schools receiving between a C- and a B+. So I'm not going to defend the school system as a whole and say that it's the best in the world. But sending your kid there is absolutely 100% not locking them into a life of intellectual mediocrity. I have many, many friends and clients who all graduated from Newport News schools, and they're some of the smartest, most successful people I've ever met. Graduates who went on to UVA, William & Mary, Christopher Newport University right here in town, then became business owners, doctors, lawyers, engineers. You name it, and Newport News graduates are doing it. I also have many friends who are teachers and administrators in the school system, and I know they're great people doing great work. My wife was even a special education teacher at Hilton Elementary for 3 years, and it was a wonderful experience. We have many friends with children in the school system who are some of the best kids on the planet, and I know they're going to grow up to do amazing things. So what I think you have in the Newport News school system is an extremely diverse population, both socially and economically. And when you have such tremendous variation among your students, particularly when it comes to support at home, you're going to get outcomes of equal variation. Some great outcomes, some very bad, and many in between. I think most people are in agreement that there's so much more than just the schools that determine a child's educational success. And then that has a direct effect on how we rate the quality of a school system. Until we address some of those underlying issues that can affect what type of an environment a child has outside of school, we're always going to see a full spectrum of outcomes in the Newport News school system. And that's going to make the system as a whole look less appealing than places like York County or going the private school route. As always, I recommend not just listening to me, but doing your own research, speaking to the principals, go visit the schools, really dig in and determine for yourself if your child will succeed in the school system before you make a final decision. But again, when you hear people say that the school system is no good and that your child's going to end up in a gang, just know it's a bit of an extreme view. And most kids are going to do great in the Newport News school system. Misconception number 3 is that there are no nice places to live. And this is a similar issue to the crime problem, because many people's only experience with Newport News is downtown, or seeing stuff on the news, or just going to the Shipyard and then back home. They don't think there are any nice neighborhoods in Newport News. Well, I don't think that could be any further from the truth. Many of my favorite neighborhoods in all of Hampton Roads are right here in Newport News. Now, we've covered many of these in some capacity on this channel in previous videos, so be sure to check those out by heading to the playlist Newport News. Some of my favorite neighborhoods I mentioned earlier in this video, like Hilton Village. Hilton is a historic community that was built in 1918 and is known for its unique architecture and walkability. This is a very tight-knit neighborhood where the elementary school is located right on the James River. Up at the front of the neighborhood on Warwick Boulevard, there's a series of shops and restaurants, including places like Indulge and Circa 1918, and others, which makes it one of the most charming neighborhoods you will ever see. On the opposite end of the style spectrum, you have Kiln Creek. This is a massive subdivision of around 5,000 homes, all sorted into their own mini neighborhoods within the larger community. Kiln Creek features a variety of living styles, condos, townhomes, duplexes, and many single-family homes, mostly built in the 1990s. In Kiln Creek, you also have multiple pools, playgrounds, tennis courts, all surrounding a fantastic golf course. So this is a big HOA neighborhood that's very easy to move into and get settled in to start enjoying living in Newport News. This is also a city with 22 miles of waterfront property, much of which is residential. So you could live in a neighborhood like Riverside, which has some of the most beautiful waterfront homes in Hampton Roads, along with access to hiking, museums, Christopher Newport University, and Riverside Hospital. These are just a few examples of the many great places to live in Newport News. So if you're hearing there's nowhere you'd want to live here, I'd say they're wrong. You just need a trusted professional to take you to some of these great locations. Misconception number 4 is that this is just a military town. And if you're PCSing to Fort Eustis and you think when you get here Newport News is just going to be the base and then pretty much nothing else, I'm happy to tell you that that's not the case. Not only is Newport News home to Fort Eustis, 25,000 local workers report to the Newport News Shipyard every single day at the opposite end of town, making it the largest industrial employer in the state of Virginia. That means that in addition to some of the military personnel who work there, you also have fabricators, electricians, engineers of all fields, accountants, graphic designers, you name it. They all work at the shipyard. In addition to the Shipyard, Ferguson Enterprises, the nation's largest plumbing supply distributor, is headquartered in Newport News. Ferguson employs over 27,000 people worldwide, many of whom live and work here in Newport News. As a city this size, you also find multiple hospitals, which means doctors and nurses, and thousands of other staff members live throughout the city. There are malls and plazas, along with movie theaters and restaurants. Newport News has several great parks, including one of the largest municipal parks in the country, Newport News Park, which comes in at over 8,000 square acres. This is a city made up of a diverse population from all walks of life, from all over the world. So when you get here, while there is, of course, a huge military presence, there's so much more to Newport News than just Fort Eustis. This is a thriving region in a city where many military members retire to and decide to spend the rest of their lives in once they enter the civilian population. So when you get here, I hope you explore the region outside of just going to work every day and take the time to enjoy all Hampton roads, and Virginia for that matter, have to offer. Our next misconception is that there is nothing to do. We hear this one a lot from our friends to the south in Virginia Beach and Norfolk, which are much larger cities. And I hear this a lot when people relocate here from massive cities like New York City or Los Angeles. Well, they're right. Compared to New York and LA, there is nothing to do here. But that's true of just about everywhere compared to those places. In reality, when you live in Newport News, there's a ton to do. You just have to be willing to make an effort to go do it, because it may not be right out of your front door. But if you put in some effort, there's so much to do in and around Newport News. I mentioned a couple of these things in the last segment, but if you like to go hiking, we may not have mountains, but we do have beautiful trails along and over the water at both Newport News Park and my personal favorite place, Nolan Trail. And if you do want some real hiking, you're only about a 2-hour drive to the Blue Ridge Mountains, where you'll find a lifetime's worth of trails. If you're more of a beach person, drive one town over to Hampton and head to Fort Monroe, where you'll find a Civil War era Army base turned beach hotspot. Or just up the coast to Buckrow Beach for wide open water, festivals, and a whole lot more. If you're a movie buff, I think Cinemark and City Center is the best theater in the area, followed by the Hampton AMC. Both have the big reclining seats and full bars, and so I'm not sure what else you would want out of a theater. They're both great. I go to them all the time. On top of all this, there's a constant stream of festivals like the Newport News Greek Festival or the Pocosin Seafood Festival, farmers markets. You can head to Williamsburg for Second Sunday's craft fair. You'll find events like this throughout the region almost every weekend. Kids can enjoy the Virginia Living Museum, part science center, part aquarium, part zoo, dinosaurs everywhere. It's pretty great. Or head up to Surge Adventure Park for one of the best trampoline experiences you'll ever find. So there's so much to do for adults and kids alike. If you like concerts, you'll find small local bands playing all over the city, especially at places like the Newport News Summer Concert Series in Port Warwick, or head to the Hampton Coliseum, down to Norfolk, Virginia Beach, or Portsmouth, or up to Richmond, which are all just a short driving distance away, to see major music acts. And of course, I can't talk about things to do in Newport News without mentioning Club Waka adult sports leagues. So I've been playing them and sponsoring them for over a decade now. Kickball, bowling, cornhole, soccer, volleyball, you name it, Club Waka has a league for you. They're extremely popular here and a great way to meet new people. So if you put some effort into it and you're willing to enjoy more than just what's right here in Newport News, you will never run out of fun things to do. Misconception number 6 is that it's a coastal city. If you're just looking at Newport News on a map, you'd think that being surrounded by water and being in relative close proximity to Virginia Beach, that Newport News would have a coastal feel to it. Maybe you visited Virginia Beach and you've seen the palm trees and beachfront restaurants, seen the flags with the bright colors and a beach vibe everywhere you go. Well, Newport News isn't like that at all. There's really nothing about this city that would let you know it has 22 miles of waterfront land. Nothing to tell you there are beaches just a town over. Nothing about the architecture that says this is a waterfront community outside of maybe a few mansions along the James River. The coastal communities you see in Norfolk, like East Beach, or like the towns up north in a place like Cape Cod, you won't find those here in Newport News. Before I moved here, I spent time in Virginia Beach and assumed that the whole region was like the oceanfront, and I've spoken to countless others that have had the same experience. I was honestly a little disappointed. And I do think that style in those neighborhoods and giving the city more of a coastal vibe would do wonders for the overall feel of Newport News. But I think as Newport News grew, the more traditional or colonial feeling that started in Williamsburg took over most of Newport News. So what you got was something that's much more northern feeling than southern coastal. And so over the years, Newport News became what it is today, and that's a town that feels like a landlocked suburban city where some people have access to the water. Now, maybe the problem is that there isn't much public water access in Newport News. The Shipyard takes up the whole southwestern border of Newport News, where in a non-industrial city, that would be where you'd see hotels and beaches. Then most of the land along the rest of the James and Warwick rivers are privately owned residential lots. So there just isn't much access to the water for most people living in Newport News, and therefore no coastal city feeling. Misconception number 7, our final misconception, is that it is easily accessible to Norfolk and Virginia Beach. And this is a big one, especially for anyone looking at living in Newport News but will be working in Norfolk or Virginia Beach. Maybe you're actually being stationed at Norfolk Naval or Oceana, and you like the fact that homes in Newport News are significantly less expensive. Or maybe your spouse works up here and you'll be down there. If you look at a map, Newport News is right over the water from Norfolk. Should be a quick little commute every day, right? Well, let me tell you something about the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, or as we call it, the HRBT. The HRBT is a bridge and tunnel system that connects the peninsula to the south side from Hampton to Norfolk. On light traffic days, it's actually quite the beautiful drive and moves at a pleasant pace, and you can be in Norfolk in minutes. But those days, particularly during commuter hours and especially in the summer, are few and far between. Traveling through the HRBT is often an absolute mess. I-64, the primary highway running through Hampton Roads, when heading from Newport News to Virginia Beach, goes from a 4-lane highway to a 2-lane highway over the course of several miles, and it's at this point where the traffic begins and then often backs up for miles at a time. Throw in a small fender bender, which happen at an alarming frequency, and you'll suddenly find yourself in a 7-mile backup on a Tuesday at noon. There's also this problem where drivers go down into the tunnel, and then on the way back up, they slow way down, and it causes a ton of completely unnecessary traffic to build up behind them. It's utterly ridiculous. And it's the same coming back. So regardless of whether you're living in Newport News and commute to Virginia Beach, or live in Virginia Beach and commute to Newport News, you're bound to be stuck in an unbearable amount of traffic more often than most people can tolerate. Now, they are currently in the process of expanding the HRBT. It should at least temporarily help alleviate the major traffic problems to a degree. However, it's currently December 2023, and right now they're over 50% done, but already a year behind, and are currently expecting a late 2026 completion date. We'll see about that. So if you're moving here anytime soon, this isn't something you'll even get to enjoy for a few years. And in the meantime, you get to deal with the additional construction delays. Regardless of your work situation, it also just makes going to Norfolk and Virginia Beach kind of a pain. If you have a flight to catch, I recommend leaving upwards of an hour earlier than you need to, just in case. Meeting up with friends for dinner? I hope they're really flexible with those reservations, because you never know what you're going to get when you have to travel between the peninsula and the south side. Okay, there you have it. Those are 7 misconceptions about living in Newport News, Virginia. I think the only way to really know what it's like living here is to talk to a lot of different people about their experiences and to ask questions. There's too much bad info out there that's misinforming people's opinions about the city. Please leave your questions and comments below, and I'll respond to them right away. I'll also be sure to include a few helpful links in the description, including a link to homes for sale in the area. And if you're making a move to Newport News or anywhere else in southeastern Virginia, my team and I are here to help. You can call, text, or email me anytime to get started. In the meantime, don't forget to like this video, share it with anyone else you know who's moving to the area, and subscribe to this channel. My name is David Tortolini. I'm with eXp Realty. Thanks so much for watching.